Hello and welcome to Social Church. We're really excited to be recording the testimony of Arthur White today. Arthur is the father of Emma Fowl, whose testimony you might have heard a few months back. Arthur was a world champion powerlifter, a successful businessman, and this is going to be a fantastic testimony. I can't wait to hear this. Over to you, Arthur.
My name is Arthur White, and this is my testimony. My story is filled with broken pieces, some terrible choices, and some ugly truths. But it's also filled with a major comeback, peace in my soul, and I found a grace that saved my life. And I want to share that with you. I've had the opportunity on many occasions of sharing with people what has gone on in my life, but I also want to share the most important thing in my life, and that is my faith in Jesus Christ. There was a time in my life when, materialistically speaking, I had everything that you would want. I had a happy and successful marriage. My wife and I, we met when we were 14. We got engaged at 17 and we were married at 19. We had 2 children. They're both now grown. I had a home and a nice home. I had a successful business. When I left school, I was a carpenter. I served an apprenticeship, and when I finished that apprenticeship back in the late 60s, early 70s, I started to work for myself. There was a boom in the building industry, and I built a business off the back of that, and a successful business. There was a time in the middle 80s when I was turning over a few million quid a year. I had a big house in Essex. I had a villa in Spain. I had a nice Jaguar car. The wife had a sports car. I had a few quid in the bank. So things were going pretty good for me. I also had a sporting career. As a kid, I loved all sport. Football, cricket, basketball, you name it, I did it. Athletics, everything. I loved sport. My love of sport led me into training with weights at a very young age. I think I was about 13, 14, 15 when I started going into a gym. I started to train and train hard, and I became reasonably strong. I drifted into powerlifting. And as a powerlifter, I competed for 30 years, between 1976 and 2006. During that 30-year period, I represented Great Britain for 27 years. And during that 27-year international career, I won 9 British titles, 6 European titles, and 4 world titles. I had everything that you would want in life, and yet I still wanted more. I wanted bigger contracts. I wanted to compete more and break more world records. I believe I actually became addicted to training. I wanted to be in the gym every day. I wanted to compete more. I wanted to break more world records. And yet, it's impossible to do such a thing. You need to rest, to recuperate. So I needed to find something to feed this addiction. And eventually, I started taking amphetamines. Amphetamines led me into salt. Salt led me into cocaine. Cocaine addiction led me into steroids. I had a cocaine and steroid addiction that nearly ended my life. And when I say that, I'm not being melodramatic. I've known 10 men die from steroid and cocaine abuse. And I remember in 1992, I went to see a doctor. He x-rayed me chest because I was having pains. And he said, if you continue with the drugs, Arthur, he said, you're going to die. My drug addiction also led me into bouts of depression. My drug addiction led me into actually becoming a different person. One of the side effects of steroids is it's a hormone, gives you a hormone imbalance, and it changes your way of thinking, it changes your outlook on life. I had an adulterous affair, left my wife, deserted my children. I lost my business, my homes, my cars, my money. Everything I'd worked for, I'd lost in 4 years of madness. And as I say, my drug addiction nearly ended my life. This doctor told me that I would die. My drug addiction led me into bouts of depression, and I tried to take my own life on many occasions. I tried to cut my own throat, crash the car, overdose, and drown myself. I could see no way out of the mess that I'd actually got myself into. I started to run an illegal debt collecting business in the East End of London, and I started to make some enemies, and there were a number of men that were going to take my life. So I'll repeat myself again and say that when I say my life was close to ending, I'm not being melodramatic. I knew no way out. In one of my sane moments, and there weren't many, I actually went to see a drug counsellor. Now, this drug counsellor was the leader of a church that my daughter started to go to. My daughter Emma became a Christian, gave her life to Jesus when she was around about 12 years of age, and I thought she'd just gone potty. I thought she'd got involved in some sort of cult, and she was talking about Jesus. I knew nothing about God. I knew nothing about Jesus. But this man was actually one of the elders of the church that she was going to. He said something to me that actually stuck with me ever since. He said, you need to choose. And you know, it doesn't matter where you are in life, whether you're young, old, rich, poor, man or woman, boy or girl, we need to make choices. My choices were very serious ones. I remember on a freezing cold March morning in a car park in the East End of London. I'd been collecting that night. I'd been involved in quite a few fights. I'd probably got turned over a couple of times. I remember standing in the car park thinking, what a mess my life is in. What a mug I am. Now, I wasn't a kid. I wasn't a juvenile. I didn't come from a broken home. I come from a poor home, really, a working class family. Those privileges certainly in my family. I worked hard for everything I got. No one gave me a tanner. And I remember standing there thinking, what a mess. I had a 12-inch diver's knife strapped to my arm, a 38 Beretta in my pocket, a knuckle duster in the other pocket. In my van, I had a couple of club hammers under the seat and 2 pickaxe handles in the back. This was now the madness of my life. I was living a violent life fueled by drugs. But you need to know where I come from. I was just a kid off of a council estate who loved life, who worked hard and became successful at it. I was a businessman, a husband, a father. I was a respected man. I had a sporting career that took me around the world. Powerlifting's a Cinderella sport, I know that. But in my circles, I had a reputation. And I was a good, strong athlete and competitor. Now, I'm living this violent life, fueled by drugs, and I could see no way out except death. I stood in the car park, Spitalfield Fruit and Veg Market, and I remember looking up, saying, you know what, if there's such a thing as a God, come and sort me out. Now, there was no booming voice or choir of angels or the heavens didn't open, but something happened to me. For 4 years, 4 long, horrid years, fear and paranoia were my best 2 mates. As big and as tough and as hard as I thought I was, I lived a life of fear and paranoia. That left me the moment I cried out to God. I remember standing in the car park. It was pitch black and I was very, very frightened of the dark, always wondering what was round the corner. And for the first time, I could look into that darkness and not feel afraid. I started to go to church. I started to read my Bible. I started to pray, and my life started to change. And I've said on many occasions, whether people choose to believe, to a point, is almost irrelevant to me. But what no one can do is argue the truth of my life. From that moment, when I asked God to come into my life, that moment when I chose to turn from the life I was living and put my trust and faith in Jesus Christ, my life started to change. My wife and I were apart for 4 years. We got remarried in 1993. I got baptized with my wife and my son. I now have the respect of my children. I have 3 grandchildren now. 2 girls from my daughter, and my son and his wife have just had a little baby boy, and they've called him after me as well. So we've got a little Arthur Jr. in the family. And I now have everything that I need in my life. There's plenty of things I want, for sure. I'd like a nice BMW 7 Series, who wouldn't? But I have everything that I need. And I have three things I'm sure of. I have forgiveness of my past, I have a hope for the future, and I have peace now in the present. I was speaking a couple of years ago in a prison in South Africa. This was a bad prison, bad place to be, run by gangs, serious gangs. And I gave a very similar story to what I've just given here. And one of the guys said at the end, he said, if I give my life to Jesus tonight, he said, I'm going to be dead. He said, I lead one of the gangs here in prison. He said, what do you say to that? What will happen? What should I do? And I said to him, I said, I can't tell you what to do, but I'll tell you this. I said, when I leave here, this was on a Sunday, I said, when I go home tomorrow, I said, I land at Heathrow on Monday. I said, I go into hospital on Tuesday and I'm having a heart operation. Not a major heart operation, it's not open surgery, but with all operations, it carries its problems and there is a risk and I could die. But I'm in a win-win situation now. If I die, I'm going to be in glory in heaven with Jesus Christ. If I live, I will continue at every opportunity, including the one I've got now, to share with people what Jesus Christ has done in my life. I believe it takes a stronger man or woman, boy or girl, to follow Jesus Christ than it does to run from him. It's not easy. Don't let anyone ever kid you that being a Christian, being a follower of Jesus Christ is easy. But I have such a peace in my life. I have, as I said, a life full of broken pieces. I made some terrible choices and there were some ugly truths. But the comeback I've made, the peace that I have now inside of me, deep in my soul, and that has been given to me by grace to save my life. And that life, that grace, is from Jesus Christ. I believe if he can change me, he can change anyone. If you're listening to this and you're struggling with life, then I have to tell you the struggles are still going to be there. That's for sure. But what Jesus has done for me has given me that peace. He's given me contentment. And I have everything that I need in my life. And I believe that is through Jesus Christ.
Arthur, thank you so much. That's so powerful. If you would like to record your testimony, we'd love to hear from you. You can contact us via our website, www.wearesocialchurch.com, or contact us via any of our social media platforms. Thanks a lot for listening today. Bye for now.